We're in the fourth of our short devotional series on life between the trees. We've looked at creation, we've looked at roots and fruits, small seeds making a big difference. And now we look at a sad tree, the sad tree that brings life. We're not quite into Easter, there's still a couple of weeks to go, but we're travelling lightly and hopefully in that direction. Luke's Gospel has disciples getting nearer to Jerusalem and has that small tax collector Zacchaeus climbing a big tree to see Jesus. That reminds us a little of yesterday, where small amounts of faith can make all the difference when they are trusting and placed in God. Jesus comes to Jerusalem and we think about palm trees giving up their large leaves for people to proclaim Jesus as King. Jesus comes from the direction of the Mount of Olives and comes from the east of the city, like the Magi came from the east to find the baby king when Jesus was born. 33 years later, and Jesus comes as King of all. Around the east of the city then is the Mount of Olives. You can look at those Bible maps and you see the green places where the olive trees and groves are. When the meal with his friends was finished, the Passover meal, Jesus led the disciples out from that place to go to pray, singing psalms across the valleys. You'd be able to hear families and households and groups of pilgrims singing familiar hymns and songs. And Jesus sings and prays among the trees. He's facing the hardest tree of all, the cross, and he goes to prepare. He prays under the Passover, the Paschal moon. We've just had a weekend of a full moon. That was the 27th of February. And the moon will next be full for Passover. It's very moving to think of Jesus praying under the same moon as us. And at this time, as he prays, watching it change and knowing that as it becomes fuller again, he is close to death, to that tree on a hill. So Jesus has been praying on the Mount of Olives. Let's hear the story from Mark 14 as they go out to a place called Gethsemane. And Jesus says to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." And he took Peter and James and John along with him, and he began to be deeply distressed and troubled. "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death," he said to them. "Stay here and keep watch." Going a little further, he fell to the ground and prayed that if possible the hour might pass from him. "Abba, Father," he said, "everything is possible for you. Take this cup from me, yet not what I will, but what you will." And then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. "Simon," he said to Peter, "are you asleep? Couldn't you keep watch for 1 hour? Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." Once more he went away and prayed the same thing, and when he came back, he again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. They did not know what to say to him. Returning the third time, he said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Enough! The hour has come. Look, the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer." Gethsemane means olive press. It means a place of gift, on the one hand, the oil and fruit from the tree, but it also means a place of pain and sorrow and pressure. The tree gives up its fruit, it gives life to those that eat from it, but it gives itself up for others. It is for Jesus' preparation for what is to come. Jesus will go to the tree on Golgotha and give up himself to bring life in forgiveness to those who are under the tree. The curse of the garden and eating from the wrong tree will be turned around into blessing from the only one who is right all the way through, Jesus. The tree is the cross. New Testament writers most often use the word tree rather than the Roman word for the cross as a means of execution. In the book of Acts, it says this: And though they found no ground for putting him to death, they asked Pilate that he be executed. When they had carried out all that was written concerning him, they took him down from the tree and laid him in a tomb. But God raised him from the dead. And then Peter, writing in his letter, he himself carried our sins in his body on the tree so that we might die to sin and live to righteousness. For by his wounds you were healed. For you were continually straying like sheep, but now you have returned to the shepherd and guardian of your souls. Gethsemane is the test for those under the olive trees to stay with Jesus. It's a test for Jesus to stay the course and not give in to temptation to go a different way. In the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus struggles and prays for that cup of suffering, of God's wrath, to be taken away, and then prays for the strength to put himself under this plan of God. This then is Jesus and the disciples' test among the garden trees in the olive grove. It takes us back to Adam and Eve's test in the garden between the trees. Which choice will Jesus make, the way of individual decision or trust in the way of the Father? Will it be the flaky human will or the everlasting, forever will of God? The way of God will take Jesus to the cross. Father, let not my will but yours be done, he says. He will die upon the tree, and that press, that suffering, that pressure will bring life to the people. A couple of other things as we finish. One is to see how Jesus restores the disciples in their moment of exhaustion and lack of faith to stay awake and pray. In that moment, Jesus comes back. He returned to the disciples, it says. That's the first chance. Once more, he went away and he came back. That's 2 chances. Returning the 3rd time. That's 3 chances. In the midst of battle, Jesus comes back not once or twice, but 3 times. And then beyond the tree of the cross, we see him resurrected, come back again to live forever. Looking at the words of Jesus in the place of pressure and loss and test in Gethsemane, see how familiar those words are to the Lord's Prayer. We might be facing a press, some pressure, difficulty, some temptation to give up. We might pray the Lord's Prayer, asking for his strength, for his power, for his compassion to be in this season. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen.